look at the past 50, 40 years, ever since World War II, basically, consumerism really started kicking into high gear. That's when you start seeing these problems with men. I think what happened is that consumerism makes men passive. And you fast forward to today, and men aren't defined by what they do, they're defined by what they consume. This summer, my wife and I were living in Vermont, and we went to my wife's cousin's middle school graduation. There's a teacher there who gave a talk, repeated this refrain, create more, consume less. And, at the time we was like, oh, it's really hokey, it's just like another Vermont hippie thing, right? But we found ourselves talking about it more and more. We got to the idea that, maybe that's what's causing this man board, this kind of, extended adolescence you're seeing in men these days. And in certain cases, women too. Being an adult means you create, right? Children are just passive consumers. Like the world revolves around them. Mom and dad give them everything. And what I think we're seeing now is that a lot of children, they're growing up into adults, and they're not becoming creators themselves. They continue to passively consume things. So I think that kind of keeps you in an infantile state almost, where you're just dependent upon somebody else for your joy and pleasure in life.
Since your blog is the art of manliness, do you think then the manly thing to do would be start creating more?
Yeah, I think a lot of men would get a lot of satisfaction from that. I think if men start creating more, pick up a hobby where they create something with their hands, or it can be art, music, it can be working out in your own backyard.
Well, there will be vegetables here eventually.
You get a sense of satisfaction. We're becoming such a more abstract world. Everything's going online, everything's digital. Sometimes you just feel like you're living in a dream, right? Nothing's real. You're not really connected to something. You're not touching something. I think by doing this type of thing, building stuff, getting outside, you reconnect yourself with reality in a sense.
Pretty much aside from the stone foundation and the wooden roof, remember, it's all mud.
How do you see the sort of DIY culture fitting into this?
I think the recession and the economic downturn we've had has actually kind of been good for the soul in some cases. The thing with consumerism, it gives you a sense, I think, a false feeling of being in control of your life. You have all these choices, and you get to choose. On my Nikes, I want the yellow tongue with the blue sidebar. You get these ridiculous choices. And I think it gives you a sense of control, but it's not a very satisfying sense of control. But I think when you start creating stuff, you are absolutely in complete control of everything. You're in complete control of your life. So yeah, I think it's good for the soul to get out there and create. I think it gives you a sense of accomplishment when you work on a garden, and then you've been working on it for weeks, for months, and then all of a sudden you see the sprout. There's a feeling of you can point at that and say, I did that. And with consumerism, there's nothing really you can do. You can point at your new flat screen television and say, well, I worked a ton of hours, or I used credit. Especially with credit, I just used credit card to buy that. No work. There's really no feeling of accomplishment with that. So yeah, I think creating gives you a sense of accomplishment as well, and I think that definitely boosts a man's self-confidence and self-esteem. Something that consumerism can't.
Isn't it great?